BYD is on a roll in Australia. Sales are skyrocketing and it's bringing even more models down under. This is one of them. It's the Sealion 5 and it's a mid-size plug-in hybrid SUV due here early next year. Today we've got just 45 minutes to get a first impression, a quick once-over of this car before it arrives next year. And of course we'll spend more time with it just before it does arrive early 2026. But for now, consider this your preview. Let's get into it. Some quick facts before we get started. The Sealion 5 sits just below the Sealion 6 in terms of both price and size. Now we don't have prices yet, but the Sealion 6 starts from about 43k in Australia, and we're told that this is a more budget-friendly sort of option, and the Sealion 6 is a little more premium. So we're guessing prices will start in the $30,000 mark. It'd have to be. We just don't know whereabouts in that 30k bracket it'll sit. Anyway, these will be front-wheel drive only. So the Sealion 6 you can get as a front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, but being a more budget-friendly option, this is just front-wheel drive. It's also about 40 mil shorter, so it's a little bit smaller, but it's still a 5-seat mid-size SUV. Now, it could also be the cheapest plug-in hybrid in Australia when it arrives early 2026. As I said, we don't know pricing, but they are targeting a very low price point. And at the moment, the cheapest plug-in hybrid SUV you can get in Australia is the Cherry Tiggo 7 Super Hybrid, and that's $39,990 drive away. So below that is where we're guessing this will sit. First impressions of the Sealion 5 inside the cabin are good. This feels really premium, but it should, because it is the top spec version of this car. You get these nice leather appointed seats, a huge panoramic roof with a shade that goes over the top, which still lets a little bit of light in, so it feels nice and airy in here. And there's such a mix of materials. That's something BYD always does, but it feels like everywhere you touch is something different, especially on these doors here. There's like patterns and different textures. Whether that's your cup of tea, who knows. Another thing I'll mention is the touchscreen. So unlike a lot of BYD models, you can't rotate the screen portrait and landscape. So this doesn't give you that option, and that's probably because it's a more budget focused model. So I'm guessing that's why, but it's also more to go wrong in cars. So I feel like maybe keeping it simple is a good thing. Shortly after filming this, a spokesperson for BYD told us the rotating touchscreen featured in many of its models, like the Shark 6 and Atto 3, was being phased out following consumer feedback that the function wasn't frequently used. Therefore, it won't be offered in the Sealion 5. There's a lot of different functions and menus which can get a bit confusing to find what you're looking for, especially when you're trying to switch ADAS systems on or off, or just find different functions. But I think once you've lived with this car, and especially because I'm only spending a little bit of time with it today, it's bound to be a little bit more confusing than it should. But all in all, the graphics look good, and it's not a bad unit at all. The infotainment screen ahead of the driver is very small though, and the font, again, this is a thing that I have with a lot of BYD models and a lot of newer cars now. They just keep coming out with these tiny screens with the font really small. So if you've got sort of vision problems, then it might be a little bit hard to read some of the fonts, but that's just probably a small gripe that I have. One good thing, touch buttons down here. So there's actual physical buttons for the fan, and you got a volume dial there, demister, drive modes. Those things are easily accessible here with physical buttons, but there's nothing else around the touchscreen. So if you don't like having everything in the touchscreen, that could get annoying, but I think, again, learn to live with it. All right, checking out the back seat for the first time. First impressions, it feels pretty spacious. The seat itself has a nice amount of under-thigh support. It's not too bad. There's 2 USB ports down here, USB-C and USB-A. Air vents, you got this weird BYD design plastic logo thing here. Not sure why that's there. Map pockets, and you've got some storage in the doors as well. Then you've also got this center armrest. I wonder if you can make these, sometimes you can recline the seat back. Not in this one. No, just a fixed back. But all in all, I think taller people with this panoramic sunroof, you might struggle for headroom, but I'm fine. And legroom's not too bad either, although there's a little air vent or something down here that means I'm hitting it with my toes. But in this side, it looks like sorry, excuse the stretch. That side looks like there's a bit more toe room. So yeah, all in all, not too bad. All right, let's check out the boot. Now this mid-size SUV is said to have, it's got an electric tailgate, possibly not in the lower spec version, so we'll wait and see about that. But yeah, that's electric in this model. Yeah, it is big. 463 litres is the size of it on paper. You got this nice flat loading space. It goes pretty deep, and yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. You've got some little storage spaces here if you want to put, like, I don't know, milk or whatever you put in your boot, I don't know. There's no spare tyre, but under the floor here, you've got your tyre repair kit in here. So bit of tyre sealant, the vest to put on so people can see you while you're fixing your tyre on the side of the road. And what else have we got? A wiper blade, unsure. And yeah, so there's some extra little pockets and things here so you could put other things, charging cables, anything you want to hide. If it's flat enough, you could probably just put it under there. But yeah, cargo blind. Okay, behind the wheel of the Sealion 5 for the first time, and in what could be the cheapest plug-in hybrid SUV, or even just the cheapest plug-in hybrid when it arrives early next year. Now we're at Lang Lang, so I've got the road to myself. I feel like most of the driving assist systems have already been switched off, because it did tell me I was drowsy just before I took off, but it was probably because I was looking over here and it wasn't seeing my eyes properly, because that detection camera is, or the camera is just on the little A-pillar here. So yeah, first impressions, it's really good. You don't feel the transition between the petrol engine and the electric motor. I'm doing 100 Ks now on what sort of simulates a country-ish back road. Yeah, in terms of ride and handling, there's a few bumps in the road back there, but it's smoothed them out really nicely. You hear them more than you feel them. It just sort of bounds over the bumps, but yeah, it's not coming into the cabin in terms of like shaking up passengers and whatnot. That was a bit of a harder bump there, but even still, it's, yeah, really well composed. All right, let's see what it's like under heavy acceleration. So we're going to do a 0 to 100 run. And what have we got? We might do a sport mode. So drive modes are just down here on the center console. So we've got eco, normal, and sport. And I'll stomp both pedals. I'm sure it hasn't got any form of launch control at all, but let's just see what it does. Yeah, nothing. Okay, so I'm just gonna have to floor it. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Bit of front wheel slip there. Running out of road, 100. Okay, hold everything. Okay, yeah, the hazard lights come on pretty, I feel like it's a bit premature. Like, I feel like if you just hit the brakes semi-hard for, you know, the light goes orange and you're like, oh no, I gotta stop, the hazard lights come on. But I guess it's safer than not coming on at all. So, I mean, that's, yeah, I guess it's probably a good thing for the most part. Okay, I'm now gonna go through a little bit of a cone slalom type setup. The steering isn't very fast. I mean, it is a family SUV after all, but seems to change directions pretty nicely in terms of body control. It's pretty good. And one thing I've noticed, especially taking off really hard, in a lot of these plug-in hybrids, they've got a lot of power up front to put down, so you get a bit of torque steer. Just because there's that electric motor up front, it means there's a lot of torque steer and wheel spin. I got a bit of the wheel spin, but no torque steer, which is good. And I mean, this isn't a super sporty or powerful plug-in hybrid, but yeah, it's nice that that feels like it's all pretty well sorted in terms of the powertrain. It's a fairly modest powertrain in the Sealion 5. This thing is powered by a 1.5 litre petrol 4-cylinder, and then it's got an electric motor up front. Combined outputs are about 156 kilowatts, and the petrol engine itself is only about 70 kilowatts, so it's pretty small, 1.5 litre, as I said. So in terms of the two grades, there's also two battery sizes. So both are front-wheel drive. Every Sealion 5 is a front-wheel drive, and they all get a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine. The battery packs, however, this is the bigger one because it's the top spec model. It's about 18 kilowatt hours, and you'll get over 1,000 kilometers of combined driving range. So with a full tank of fuel and the battery full, 1,000 Ks or thereabouts. So the 1,000K range or thereabouts is pretty common for a lot of the plug-in hybrid SUVs or the super hybrids that are coming out from BYD. MG's got one and Chery as well, among others. I think that's probably the main three, but they all promise fairly long driving range. The battery pack in this will give you, this one's the 18 point something kilowatt hour, so the larger of the two options because it's the top spec. And they reckon it'll give you around 100 kilometers of electric only driving range, but that is on the NEDC cycle, so it's a bit more lenient than the WLTP range that we normally go by, so expect a bit less than that if you're planning on doing EV only. There's a lot of menus here with the safety assist. I mean, on the move, trying to change some of those systems, like if you want to turn off blind spot monitoring or the emergency lane keep assist. It is difficult to do it on the move, and then you've got the car telling you to keep your eyes on the road, rightfully so. I'll just touch on consumption as well. So they reckon that with a full tank of fuel and a full battery, you'll get about 1.3 litres per 100 Ks in this car. When the battery starts to drain though, they reckon it's more like 4.6 or thereabouts, so mid 4 litre per 100 Ks, which is generally better than or as good as a lot of hybrid systems, let alone plug-in hybrids with a slightly bigger battery. At the moment, this car is reading 4.9 litres per 100 Ks, so yeah, just under 5 litres. And I mean, that's pretty good for what I'm guessing probably has been thrashed a bit today by a bunch of different drivers. Yeah, again, higher speed, simulating country road type behaviour, 130 Ks. It feels good. I can still hear a bit of that wind noise, but there's no complaints when it comes to ride and handling, at least on any of these roads that we've been on. This is a coarser chip surface, and again, it still feels pretty quiet in here. I pulled over and worked out how to switch on all the lane assist features to their full strength. And the good news is that they weren't too intrusive. Yeah, it's a bit hard to tell whether they're really good or not good enough at picking up the lines because of the roads that we're on. They're not really marked well anyway. So I'll certainly reserve judgment on some of the ADAS features until we get this car on Aussie roads, and which shouldn't be too long. So exciting times. Thanks for joining us for a first look at the new BYD Sealion 5. We'll get to drive this on Aussie roads when it arrives early next year to give you our full and proper thoughts and do a really good test with it then. So make sure you stay tuned to the carsales website and YouTube for more. In the meantime though, let us know what you think of this car in the comments. Would you get this or the Sealion 6 or something else? All right, see you in the next one.